Welcome back. I'm still talking about love, reading the New York Times bestseller All About Love, New Visions by the author Bell Hooks. Still in chapter 1. It's a very meaty chapter, and I'll jump in. Most of us find it difficult to accept a definition of love that says we are never loved in a context where there's abuse. Most psychological and or physically abused children have been taught by parenting adults that love can coexist with abuse. And in extreme cases, that abuse is an expression of love. This faulty thinking often shapes our adult perceptions of love. So that just as we would cling to the notion that those who hurt us as children loved us, we try to rationalize being hurt by other adults by insisting that they love us. In my case, many of the negative shaming practices I was subjected to in childhood continued in my romantic adult relationships. Initially, I did not want to accept a definition of love that would also compel me to face the possibility that I had not known love in the relationships that were most primary to me. Years of therapy and critical reflection enabled me to accept that there's no stigma attached to acknowledging a lack of love in one's primary relationships. And if one's goal is self-recovery, to be well in one's own soul, honestly and realistically confronting lovelessness is a part of the healing process. A lack of sustained love does not mean the absence of care, affection, or pleasure. In fact, my long-term romantic relationships, like the bonds in my family, have been so full of care that it would be quite easy to overlook the ongoing emotional dysfunction. Remember the definition, this is me talking, of love that she has is nurturing your own and someone else's growth. So someone can be giving you food, helping you with your bills, and at the same time belittling you, making you feel inadequate and incompetent. It's still not love, right? Giving people things, it's not always love. In order to change the lovelessness in my primary relationships, I had to first learn anew the meaning of love, and from there learn how to be loving. Embracing a definition of love that was clear was the first step in the process. Like many who read The Road Less Traveled again and again, I'm grateful to have been given a definition of love that helped me face the places in my life where love was lacking. I was in my mid-20s when I first learned to understand love as the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another person's spiritual growth. It still took years for me to let go of learned patterns of behaviors that negated my capacity to give and receive love. One pattern that made the practice of love especially difficult was constantly choosing to be with men who were emotionally wounded, who were not that interested in being loving, even though they desired to be loved. So yeah, that's a big thing with people. And I think most people who are on the path to being more loving experience it, that there are many people, many potential suitors who are so interested in being loved by you, but the rare and few who want a mutually loving situation. And so, yeah, love is a two-way street. As a matter of fact, it can have many streets, right? Because there are different types of love. I wanted to know love, but I was afraid to surrender and trust another person. I was afraid to be intimate. By choosing men who were not interested in being loved, I was able to practice giving love, but always within an unfulfilling context. Naturally, my need to receive love was not met. I got what I was accustomed to getting, care and affection, usually mingled with a degree of unkindness, neglect, and on some occasions, outright cruelty. At times I was unkind. It took me a long time to recognize that while I wanted to know love, I was afraid to be truly intimate. Many of us choose relationships of affection and care that will never become loving because they feel safer. The demands are not as intense as loving requires. The risk is not as great. So I'm going to stop right here because this was rich, this was deep. The fact that sometimes we're self-sabotaging is what she's getting at there. That we just keep replicating the inadequacies that were in our families, the things we did not get. We don't even notice it, that we're getting the same insults that we received as a child. We're getting the same coldness, we're getting the same abandonment, we're getting the same rejection, and we're accustomed to it, so we can't even imagine something different. But then you do the work and you realize that you're worth it, right? You deserve nothing but the absolute best. You deserve to thrive. So I'm going to stop here. Thank you so much for listening.